us all together. Lord, we gather in your name as children of a sovereign God. Forever we proclaim, to God be all glory.
Well, good afternoon. How you doing? It is Sunday, March 23rd, 2025. Welcome to episode 266 of The Thinking Theologian as we continue our journey through the scriptures. So today we read Judges 13 through 15. The title of today is The Wrong Woman Can Cause a Multitude of Problems. That's ever true. Also can the wrong man too. So the focal scriptures in Judges 14:17, and this is what it says. She wept the whole 7 days, is what that should say. She wept the whole 7 days of the feast. And at last, on the seventh day, he explained it to her because he had nagged him so much, because she had nagged him so much. And then she explained it to her people. That's what it says on there. Sorry, I didn't get it up there on the list. But that's what happened. She nagged him, and nagged him to death. Literally nagged him to death. And so we have to understand that who we're with and the relationships we're in really do have a big difference. So here we see that Samson is given many gifts, strength galore, ability to lead. Unfortunately, picking his bride was not one of them. Samson was blessed by the Lord of strength. He was blessed by the Lord to accomplish great tasks. He fought for the people. However, he picked a person with his eyes and not one that was compatible with his belief system. He picked somebody who was not a Jew, who was not an Israelite, who was not somebody who believed and worshiped the same God he did. And ultimately that led to horrible circumstances later on, which ultimately led to his death. And so the Lord and his family, and Samson's family, wanted him to pick somebody else. They knew what was going on and what was happening and the dangers that were to come. And they wanted him to pick somebody that thought like him and believed like him. Pick an Israelite, pick a Jew, pick someone who has the same belief system you do, not a foreigner who's going to try to turn you away from the God of the universe, but to a foreign God. That's what Delilah did. Samson did not listen to their advice, though. He thought he knew more. And many relationships are like this. You get so infatuated by what you see and what's going on, you get caught up in it that you don't listen to sound advice often until it's too late, and you're damaged mentally, emotionally, and sometimes even spiritually because of relationship. Because it's not that you didn't care about it, it's not that you don't love them, it's not that you didn't have real feelings for them, but it wasn't a healthy relationship, and it wasn't a good spiritual. I'm not gonna say connection, but a good spiritual match with where your belief systems are. And so here we see in this passage that she manipulated and influenced Samson to get her way. She wept the whole 7 days of the feast. Like she's beginning to cry. And on the last seventh day, he explained it to her because she had nagged him so much. She kept going in and going in and going in. And we men know this, that sometimes our wives can nag us into submission. And if you don't share somebody who has your belief system, this could be a very dangerous thing. And this is what happened here. She nagged him to give the source of his strength, and then she went and told her people, her fellow countrymen, so they could defeat the Israelites. So even though they were married, she was still loyal to her country, not loyal to her husband, which again ended up leading to his death. So not only to get her way, but to ruin her husband and his people. This was not a union that was pleasing to the Lord, but the Lord let it happen nonetheless. And so don't miss that God will allow us sometimes to get things that we're asking for, even though we don't need it. So the lesson for believers is that you need to be careful in whom you choose to date, and especially in whom you marry. It really does matter. It makes a big difference. They may have every attribute and check off every box you're looking for, but if they're not like-minded in beliefs, you will have heartache. They may be physically what you're looking for, personality-wise, economic, just whatever it is. They may check off every box, but if they don't line up spiritually, it is not something you need to be involved in, because you will end up getting feelings for them. You will care about them deeply, and it eventually can lead to ruin. And so when we get to that point, it's almost too late at that point. And so, however, what matters most for a biblical relationship, like-minded beliefs. And so Samson's wife was more concerned about her people. And a biblical marriage can only thrive when both people are all in with God. Yes, you should be attracted to the person you date and marry. I'm not saying that. I mean, obviously, we should be attracted to the person we date and marry. Um, and yes, you should get along. You should get along well with the person you're with. However, what matters most for a biblical relationship goes beyond the physical, because eventually looks will fade, and all that's left is personality and character. Do they have good character, and do they want to travel the same way in life? Doesn't mean you have to agree on everything, but are y'all going the same direction? You can't go in two opposite directions. A successful marriage could not have one party who is trying to sabotage or ruin the other. And sometimes that happens. That's what's happening here. A bad choice of relationships can cause problems for years to come, especially when you get married and you're trying to work it out, and you're committed to this person. And if you're not on the same path, it can cause a lot of damage to you, and especially if you start having kids. Find someone who's passionate for God and then will be passionate for your desire to serve the Lord with all that you have. Their relationship with God should be first, and then their relationship with you. When you get married, they should love God first, then they should love you next, and then the children. And sometimes those things get way out of order. So don't miss out on how good don't miss out on how good leadership is missing in Israel and in the choice of spouse with Samson. So we talked about here past couple of days how the judges were making bad choice and we're seeing bad leaders. Now we're seeing bad decisions in choice of spouse, which ends up causing many issues for the nation of Israel. So when you follow God, you have to have a different standard. And so you must act and think differently when you're leading people, whether it's leading the people or leading your own home. Decisions are based on God's standards, not human standards. The book of Judges should reveal to all of us how we make decisions and if they are God honoring. So if you don't get anything from the book of Judges, understand that leadership is a key issue, but also who we choose in leadership, to lead, but also in how leaders make decisions, because that reveals a lot to you about who they are. Doesn't mean leaders aren't going to make mistakes. They will, to make plenty of them, but the attitude of that relationship and the attitude of those decisions should be of paramount distinction when we're looking at how leaders act and how they behave. So the results will speak for themselves as others view our lives. And so here we see the result of what's going on. We can look back and critique Samson's life. Eventually he did the right thing, but it ended up costing him his life. It cost him everything because of what he did, because of his disobedience of marrying someone who was not like-minded, but then also them trying to destroy the people. So what type of relationship do you desire in friendships, in relationships, in other areas? What do you desire? This is important to understand before you find yourself in a perpetual fight for your spiritual life. And so when we get this and we understand this, it changes how we view many things in life. So thank you for being with us today. And hopefully you see this tomorrow will be in Judges 16 through 18. And don't forget here, make good decisions in friendships, in relationships, but then also understand how it reveals to us our leadership style and how we view leadership, but then also our decision making, which leadership and decision making go hand in hand. So tomorrow again, we'll be in Judges 16 through 18. Have a good day, and I will see you then.